Operations that produce row equivalent matrices. An augmented matrix is transformed into a row equivalent matrix by performing any of the following row operations. You can interchange two rows. A row is multiplied by a non-zero constant, or a constant multiple of one row is added to another row. Okay? Now, these little symbols do make a difference, and we'll be playing with those a little bit later. Now, I need you to note that the arrow, okay, means replaces, especially number 2 and number 3. Now, we're going to perform row operations that are indicated in the following problems to this particular matrix. So let me move down. So first thing, I want to multiply 1/2 times row 2, and I want to replace row 2 with that. So 1/2 times this row, and then I want to replace it. So usually I write it like this, and then I'm going to multiply through. Remember, these rows are equations, so we've multiplied through before. So this should give me 2, -3, -4. Okay? And now I want to replace this row with my result. So my new matrix will look like that. Notice that the first row is not changed. This right here tells you what row is going to be replaced. Okay? Now in this one, I want to multiply row 1 by a -2. Multiply row 1. So I'm going to put -2 times row 1 and distribute it through. You should get -2, 6, and -4, and that is going to replace my row 1. So technically it's my new row 1. There. Now in this one, I want to multiply -1 times row 2 and replace row 2 with that result. So I think we can do this without having to write this down. So I'd have -4, 6, and 8. There. Now this one's a little bit more complicated. I need to multiply row 2 by -1/2. I need to then add that to row 1 to give me my new row 1. Anytime you add a constant times row to another row, that's the row that's going to be replaced. So let's see what I've done. So I've got to do the multiplication first. So I'm going to do the -1/2 times row 2, and that will give me that. Now I need to put row 1 with it because, see, this part is this piece. Then I'm going to add row 1 to that so I can see my row 1. And when I add these, I should have -1, 0, and 6. Now remember, I'm going to now use this to replace my old row 1. So my second row stays as is. It's only the first row that's going to get changed. Okay? Got some more. In this one, -2 times row 1, add it to row 2 to get my new row 2. Pause me and you try it, and we'll see if we end up with the same thing. So -2 times row 1, here's row 1, so I'm going to do -2 times that. Then I'm going to add it to row 2, so let's see if I indicate -2 times row 1. So I'm going to have a -2 plus 6 minus 4. And add it to row 2, have it right under it, and I should end up, when I add these, I'm going to have 2, 0, -12. And remember, this is my new row 2. So row 1 should not have changed. Row 2 has. Now in this one, I don't need to multiply anybody. They just want me to add row 1 to row 2. So I get row 1 and row 2 so I can see them. Add them together, so that would be 5, -9, -6. and I need to replace this answer as my new row 2. Again, row 1 hasn't changed. This tells me what row gets changed. Okay? So there's some problems on the homework that you need to do, and you need to practice this to understand what they're asking you to do here, because you're going to have to be doing this later. Thank you.